And then I spotted this one on secondary, and I was like, okay, here we go. I'm just gonna pick this one up, and yeah, it's worked out
Yeah,
well.
that's actually probably a pretty good segue for later on with Little Pizza going on, helping develop the little block party. And I see Rudo's kind of strolled in here with his awesome looking duck, and it provides a way to snipe these nice clean heads that we're looking for. So pretty excited to talk about that. I'm sure he'll be here shortly. I see some more people getting in the space. Thanks for joining us. We're just waiting on a few more people, and if you want to retweet the room, that'd be very cool. We'd appreciate that.
You just knew that Little Pizza was going to be fashionably late anyway, didn't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
set your time.
Oh, Mr. Rudo is officially up and speaking. Mr. Rudo, how we doing, boss?
What's up, everyone? Man, I'm not gonna lie. All these little nouns, like in one room, it looks so dope.
It's dope, right? And I gotta say, man, you look good as a duck, dude. You look a nice pixelated duck, dude. Looking sharp with the black and white for sure. It suits you well.
I feel like the duck just spoke to me, man. It's giving me my spirit animal vibes for sure.
I just noticed that we had matching shades. I kind of digging that, dude. So since we're homies and everything, I think it's a good look, dude.
Yeah, it looks like from my point of view, it looks like your little nouns is looking up at my little nouns, dude. So I'm glad that I can be someone you look up to, bro.
Is that what it is? I had a comeback. I don't know how appropriate it was. Just know that you're on the bottom. But anyways, moving right along on my screen. But Rudo the power. Anyways, moving right along.
Savage, bro. You should have just said it. Except that the space is recorded. If it was on one of
Yeah, I think just implying it, and if you understood where I was going, then you're on the same
oh man, I knew.
on the same wavelength. And if you didn't know where I was going, then it doesn't really matter, right?
I
So
knew I knew where you're going, man. I don't think that says much about the kind of person I am, but I knew immediately where you were going.
well, that's why I invited you here, man, because we're like-minded like that. So it's all good, buddy. All
I'm
right,
excited for the space.
yeah, yeah. So maybe we'll wait for
Little pizza.
yeah, well, Little Pizza, he can come up on over there, and then I'll let April decide since she's going to kick off the show for us when we'll get ready. I think we're only a couple minutes into it, so
Yeah, we started a bit early, and I'm sure Little Pizza's just sort of he's just sort of stopped hammering the keyboard from another a little prop house round in it. I think so. He's just sort of finished typing in his typewriter, and he's probably just calming down. And,
oh, speaking of the devil,
oh, yeah, look, he's with a laughing emoji. He's like, damn it, what have I walked into?
and he's cracking up because he knows it's true. He's addicted to that prop house, and yeah, well, that's a good segue for our third guest, which is SQ, and he runs the co-spaces there for the prop house, and we'll get a little bit into it for what that is and what that entails, and how we can leverage
Yeah,
that for all our listeners.
I can see his account in the audience as well, so I'll bring him up as well now, so he's up on stage if I've got the power.
Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. And are we?
Which I don't, so April or something.
There we go. He's
No power for you, my friend.
Little Pizza. You're up. He's connecting. He's connecting. Well, on that note, shall we maybe kick things off, guys? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think we
Yeah,
should.
I think just before you do that, if you bring up the little prop house account as well, April, so we've got everybody up here. SQ's behind. I know he's not speaking until the latter stages, but at least he's up here then up top with us, and then we can kick it off, I think.
Did
I've
we
got the
share in
power.
Discord the link? I know we did earlier, and I know that there's a reminder set on the top left there, but maybe just in main chat or whatever, if we
Yeah, I'll
want to
do
go
it.
ahead and do that. Yeah, yeah, very good. Cheers.
Nice. Well, with that, just a little reminder, guys, if you're in the space now, if you don't mind giving us a retweet just down at the bottom right, that'd really help us out. So I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, let's get going. Welcome to the very first The Lil Noun Show. This is a show that the four of us, Crusher, Cardinal, English, and myself, have been thinking about for a little while now. So it feels good to be up here and get it going. The idea is this will be a weekly show, same time every week, 6:30 p.m. EST every Monday. So if you like it this week, we hope you come back as a regular listener. But yeah, the four of us actually got to know one another on another Spaces show we were doing for another community, Threelanders, and after being on our own little adventures in the space, in different communities and different projects, bit serendipitously, we found ourselves all back in Lil Noun's at the same time. I can't even remember how long ago now, because like time in this space is something I can't quite comprehend, but maybe a couple of months ago now. And we've all just been diving in, learning as much as we can about Lil Nouns and the ecosystem, how it works. And there's so much innovation and exciting stuff happening here. We all just got pretty much drawn in straight away. So this is our little way of trying to contribute right now. So we hope you enjoy it. And the whole concept of this show is that we're going to be trying to bring in people from different communities, different projects, whose values align with Lil Nouns, and hopefully just share the knowledge, share the love, and yeah, let more people know about Lil Nouns, what's going on here, because there is so much exciting stuff. And with that in mind, this week on the show we have Little Pizza, who I don't think needs really any introduction, because he's a real big part of the Little Nouns community already, and Rito as well, who we know from all over the Web3 space, I think, because Rito gets everywhere. He is a pro in marketing, and the pair of them are going to be chatting to us a little bit about working in Web3, how you can make that happen, and what they've learned from their experiences so far as well. And we also have SQ hiding behind the Little Prop House Twitter account there as well, who will be filling us in on the latest round of Prop House, with round 9 just ending, I think, literally a couple of minutes ago. So we'll be diving into that a little bit at the end of the show. But guys, Crusher, Cardinal English, I don't know if you guys just want to quickly say hi, quickly introduce yourselves, and then we'll give a little bit of a Lil Noun's news update, and then we'll dive into the real meat of the conversation.
Well, yeah, I'll say hi quickly. I think that was a pretty good synopsis of, who we are as a team. I came into the space, late last year in 2021, and met all you great guys. And as you mentioned, we got together for Threelanders and made a great show. So if there's anybody joining us from our old show and, has just enjoyed us chit chat and values that, and you've followed us onto this show, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Thank you for the Little Nouns community for welcoming us so much and being great and getting us started and transitioning the show. And I don't really have much to add other than thank you, and appreciate everybody's time and joining us on this journey. And we're pretty excited to we're not experts in the Little Nouns community, but we do try to educate and have good information, and as you mentioned, have kind of what we did in our previous show, try to cross-pollinate different communities and interesting topics, and hopefully we can have a show not just about Little Nouns but for Little Nouns. And I think that was kind of the spirit of this first show. It's kind of an interesting topic that we're discussing. I know that some people have mentioned in Twitter space and Twitter tweets out there that if you're in this space at this time and you have marketable skills and you want to have some work in Web3, that it's pretty much a no-brainer, that you've learned a lot in this space. And I think with this bear market and a lot of the people that maybe just saw a YouTube video and how to make quick money in NFTs, they've kind of gone by the wayside. And we have a lot of still interesting people that want to build in this space, and if they can transition their talents and make money doing that and add value to this Web3 community that we all love so much, it's a win-win situation, and the Little Nouns has an excellent platform for doing that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this space. So not too much more to add than that, but just a lot of gratitude and thank you to everybody that joined this space and is joining us with us. So with that said, Cardinal, any thoughts before we kick it off?
Yeah, I'm not going to really labor on too much because, as you both mentioned, our stories sort of intertwine quite a lot. So I don't want to risk repeating ourselves. Just thank everybody for tuning in today. Like I say, it's going to be a weekly space as we look forward to you being on the journey with us over the next weeks and months. And hopefully we can provide to you what, we done what we thought we'd done so well in the Monster Threelanders. So yeah, stick around and hopefully you enjoy. And also, yeah, cheers for the guests that are coming as well.
Yep, and I'll say hi too. Yeah, I'm hiding behind the Lil Noun show avatar there. My personal profile is down in the crowd. He's a little frog hanging out. But yeah, and I'm not gonna I won't belabor the point too much either. You know, we have I think a lot of us owe Little Pizza down there a thank you for getting us in Little Nouns, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But yeah, I've been in the space for a little over a year and a half now, and learning more every day, and yeah, it's cool to be here. So that's it.
Nice. Okay, guys. So before we dive into the chat with Rito and Little Pizza, we figured every show we'd start with a little bit of a news update from Lil Nouns, just recap on what you might have missed in the past week. And I am not going to take credit for this. Basically, I want to shout out Lil Sadden, who makes the Lil Nouns newsletter, which goes out every Sunday. If you aren't subscribed to that, please go and do so. I'll go and pin it to the top, so you can find that really easily, because it's a really great resource for the Lil Nouns community. So yeah, get subscribed. But yeah, I'll kick off, and I think a really great way to set the scene is a tweet that was really the headline of that newsletter this week from Punk4156, and in it he's sort of describing what it means to be nounish. So I'm just going to read that out because I also think it encapsulates a little bit about what we're going to be trying to do in this show. So he says, nounish is to do good with no expectation of return, create positive externalities, embrace absurdity and difference, teach people about nouns and crypto, and have fun. So yeah, if we can do that, we'll be winning. But yeah, what else has been happening? So firstly, Lil Mike has gone out and created a new infographic to demonstrate how many Lil Nouns are needed to go on chain with Lil Nouns and basically have your proposal considered. Just wanted to mention this because I think it's super important, and maybe if people aren't aware of this listening, learning about Lil Nouns for the first time. But if you want to go on chain and submit a proposal, you do need to have a certain amount of Lil Nouns. And that's tied to how many Lil Nouns have been minted. So it is one Lil Noun for every 1K minted. So right now, we're in the 6,000s. So to put a proposal on chain, you would need 6 Lil Nouns. So Lil Mike's going to create a really great graphic for that. We'll try and get that pinned to the top too, so you guys can see that. But yeah, that takes us nicely into on-chain proposals at the moment. So the most recent proposal was Proposal 61, which unfortunately has just been defeated. It was proposing to send another 60 ETH to the Nouns acquisition multisig to purchase the 9th noun. So if you don't know already, Lil Nouns has 8 nouns in the treasury, and this was to essentially go and purchase that 9th noun. But yeah, this is actually part of a much bigger conversation happening around in the DC right now. I feel like every time I pop in, people are chatting about this and basically how Lil Nouns can make the most of these nouns in the treasury. So I think that's something we'll put a pin in and maybe chat about a different day. But yeah, something to think about. And then yeah, so beneath the on-chain proposals, we also have Prop House. Prop House round 9 has just closed. This round, 5 proposals will get funding for 2 ETH, and I'm not going to go too much into this because SQ is going to join us a little later, who is basically the main man over at Prop House, and yeah, fill us in exactly what's been happening there. What are the top props to come out this round, and exactly what happens next? And yeah, just to wrap up the news, the next weekly community call is going to be on Sunday the 16th at 2 p.m. EST. That happens in the Discord every week. So if you are interested in getting a little more involved, hearing what's happening, that is a really good thing to join if it works out with your time zones. So yeah, keep it quick, and then we'll dive into the good stuff. But Krisha, did you just want to quickly mention the giveaway we've got going on right now?
Yeah. We've got, so I think we've pinned it at the top here. April has, well, we put this out, but we are giving away a Lil Noun, a nice little wizard hat that we think is super cool. And really, all you need to do is retweet, like, and be in the space, and we'll do a drawing a little bit later. And so, tell all your friends, and if you want to take a minute and retweet it out, and at the end of the space, we'll give it away. And it would be cool, as much as I know we've got a lot of Lil Nouns owners and supporters in here. It would be fun to onboard someone new. So it'd be great to get the audience involved.
Yeah, for sure, guys. If you haven't retweeted already, go and get that done. I don't know who wouldn't want the chance to win the wizard hat, because it's one of the coolest Lil Nouns I've seen. So yeah, Card, do you wanna quickly come up here and mention the PO-up that we're doing?
Yeah, so as with most little noun spaces I've been in the last sort of month, PO-up seemed to be a big thing. I didn't really realize it until I was on SQ Spaces last week, I think, and we got chatting with Motion at the tail end of that. And he's basically come up with a PO-up for the inaugural first episode of the Little Noun show. He's done all the hard work. I think I've seen him in the audience there as well, so I have to give him his flowers for that. So thank you, Motion. So yeah, there is going to be a PO-up issued for the first episode, and this is something we're going to do going forward. Probably about 3/4 away into the show tonight. I'll announce further details on how to get hold of that, and then you can start collecting them as we go forward.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Well, I think let's dive in. I'm going to hand over to English. So guys, strap yourselves in. If you've listened to us before, you know what that means.
All right,
No
guys,
pressure.
Right. No, it's all good. And yeah, so thank you, April, for that. But as Crusher mentioned, we were onboarded by Little Pizza, and he'll join us maybe right after Rudo. We'll get into Rudo, but Rudo's a good friend of ours. He runs his own Twitter Spaces. He's an amazing host in his own right. And I saw a tweet. He was like, "Oh, I'm bullish on this whole Nouns, ecosystem. How much revenue they pull in, all the great stuff that they're able to distribute to their holders and people that are builders." And so I shot him, a DM. I slid into the good old DMs, and I'm like, "Hey, are you bullish on nouns?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think he was a little noun curious." And since then, we got the little block party to snipe him a duck, and we onboarded him. And he's had some really great thoughts on working in Web3. And so with that being said, Rudo, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and how you found out about nouns, and any other kind of tidbits?
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for having me. I've been in your guys' spaces before, man. I've known you guys for it's been a minute now, which is crazy. But yeah, it's I really appreciate you guys giving me the time of day to hop on here and just kind of talk about myself, which is something I like to do a lot, unfortunately. But
both you and me both, my friend. You and BMO. So when did you find, when was like nouns really on your radar? Because I did see you shot out a tweet, right? And you're like, "Hey, why is nobody," or what was the tweet actually?
The tweet was basically like, how on earth is nobody talking about like nouns, and like why aren't nouns like in the discussion for like top 3 if not top 5 like projects in the space? I think it's pretty obvious. Like I've been following along with nouns, or I've known about nouns since I basically first got into the space, which was summer of 2021. And I obviously like it's expensive, right? For starters, to hop in and get like a legitimate noun. But I think if people just took the time to really dive in to the entire ecosystem and how they're kind of structuring everything, in my opinion, if people know me, they know like I'm mega bearish on like 99% of like DAOs, or like DAO structured things. But nouns, in my opinion, are kind of in my opinion, probably like only 1 or 3 projects or ecosystems that are utilizing it how it's intended to be utilized. And obviously, Lil Nouns being a fork of it, doing something very similar, bullish on that. So yeah, that's how I kind of found out about nouns. And obviously Tempers, who was the artist for the original nouns, like it's it's just it's an insanely undervalued project. Not really, because everyone's, buying them up at 60 to 75 ETH every day. But yeah, it's just under the radar, man.
You brought up a good point. So, like, one of the things that I love about Little Nouns is, I don't know how much everybody's aware, but even for the big nouns, you don't need to be a nouns holder. But I think there's something redeeming about actually being able to hold something and then being part of the ecosystem and then building out. So even though if later on you want to get into the big nouns, it's kind of nice to know that you can rock your PFP, you have some votes, such and so forth. So I kind of look at it as like the every man's noun. So while not everybody has 90 ETH, I think at 0.15 or somewhere around there, it's I see Little Pizza laughing because I think that's his little phrase there, the every man. So I stole his thunder. But yeah, so that's kind of why I'm bullish on it. Anybody that I know, I see Jordy Liu in here. She's an amazing artist and contributor to Three Landers. And so when I see people like that, I'm like, hey, have you seen Little Nouns? There's ways that you can generate revenue, kind of build your portfolio, build your Web3 resume, and kind of get your feet wet in that way. So I just think it has so many more opportunities and such and so forth. So great points with that. So Rudo, tell us a little bit about yourself. So like, you're full-time Web3. I know that Little Pizza, who, feel free to, unmute Little Pizza and say hi, but I was just going to get into Rudo first. What do you do in Web3? What did you do beforehand? Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and, how you got into Web3, how you transitioned full-time. What was that a little bit like?
Yeah. So, wait, can you guys, okay. Yeah, you can hear me. A little background, and I'll try to be quick about it. I know I kind of word vomit a lot, but yeah, my background is about 7 to 8 years of traditional digital marketing in like Web 2. I did everything from, optimizing SEO to social media marketing to affiliate marketing to media buying to everything like that. I've worked with I think maybe 8 or 10 different digital marketing firms or agencies globally. I've helped scale brands or e-commerce companies from $0 in sales to 7 figures in revenue. Two of which did that month to date, like month to month, 7 figures in revenue. So I had some background in some digital marketing stuff, and I started my own consulting basically firm, and I did that for about maybe 4 years, like on my own, just working for multiple different agencies. And I've been in crypto since 2016. I've always been very interested in just blockchain technology as a whole. I had some friends of mine that try to onboard me with like NBA Top Shot. And then, they try to get me to mint a Bored Ape. And I was like, that sounds dumb. $200 for Monkey Picture, like mega bearish, like fading that to hell. And then, of course, like I get text messages every day for about a month and a half straight of how like their monkey JPEGs are like worth thousands of dollars now. So obviously, like most people, that's kind of intriguing. And you start to get curious. You're like, how on earth? And then you start diving into it. And then me being like a previous like gamer too, growing up as a kid, like, owning digital assets just made like perfect sense to me. And then I originally wanted to hop into Web3, becoming a Solidity dev. So I taught myself coding for, 3 to 4 months, and then hopped into Solidity for like 4 months just to like understand the EVM and like how the underlying tech of Ethereum works. Compiled, deployed my first smart contracts, built out dApps, just kind of building out my resume so I can do that in NFTs. But then I just kind of fell in love with just all things NFTs, man, like art, like community stuff, obviously making some pretty good trades and making some good money on it. And then I got an opportunity to work with a company called Kryptonite. This is how I essentially got my foot in the door. And prior to that, I was kind of like quote unquote advising, but I wasn't getting paid for that at the time. I just wanted to like help people out and get my name out there. And Kryptonite, I spoke at NFT LA with the team over there. And if you're not familiar, the pinned tweet on my Twitter has like, some pretty well-known crypto quote unquote influencers. And they are all part of the Kryptonite family. Basically, it's an educational platform, and I was kind of like the in-house NFT degenerate, where like I helped talk about all things NFTs and kind of spread the word and educate a lot of the people in that ecosystem. So, got my name out there through that, and then eventually I got hit up to do to be the director of marketing for a company called Soapbox. where we're basically, building out customized platforms, trading platforms for specific NFT communities. And the point being that it's incredibly safe. It has 3 layers of verification. It's fun and engaging. Like, it allows holders and community members to chat, negotiate, kind of like back in the day trading Pokemon cards and stuff. So yeah, that was way longer than I wanted it to be, but
It's all
that's
good,
that's
man.
me, man.
It was a good background. I actually have a couple questions regarding that. So you mentioned 2 points because I kind of want this to be a guide for some people that are maybe listening and are interested in like, man, I love this Web3 stuff. I know that there's money to be made here, but they might not know the first steps. You mentioned that although I know you had done more marketing side, you got into the tech side just to kind of understand the technology. Do you feel like that's a good step for most people, or do you feel like that was maybe a little bit too much and didn't necessarily bear any fruit? Because in a way, I kind of have like there's 3 components to Web3. It seems like you can be on the tech side, the creative side, or like the community / marketing kind of side. I mean, there's probably more to it than that, but those are good 3 frameworks. And you're on the marketing side. Did understanding the tech, learning the Solidity, did that help you with the jobs, or that was just kind of for your own benefit?
Oh man, honestly, I just have like pretty intense ADHD, and like it's hard for me to sit still. So I like
So
to
you were
call
on
myself.
Adderall basically, and you had nothing else to do, and you're like, let me just pop some more Adderall. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, the thing is that I don't take Adderall, so that's my problem. And to me, honestly, bro, I think like ADHD or ADD, to me, it's kind of like a superpower to a certain extent, because like since it is so hard for me to focus on like necessarily one thing, I go and I learn like a bunch of different things. So like I've been called kind of like a master of none by some close friends of mine because I'm like decent at a bunch of shit, but not really, really good at like one thing. So
Like not like answering the question. Did the tech help, or was it too much?
it I would say it did help, and I honestly advise everybody to do the same thing. Don't just like, of course, be hyper focused on something that you want to learn and you like, but I think it's important for everybody to really like, spread their wings a bit and dip their toes into a bunch of different things, and tech was the back end tech side of things, definitely was one of those aspects.
And where did you go? You just like Googled online, learn Solidity, or how did you go about that?
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. Learning Solidity is kind of a pain in the ass, especially if you don't have any like tech background. So I just started from ground zero, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and I learned that through Codecademy and Free Code Camp, and then of course like YouTube University. And Solidity, I signed up to like some Udemy classes, and then just read the documentation. Man, honestly, like reading the documentation for learning how to code stuff is probably my favorite way to do it, and then YouTubing stuff, and then building stuff out.
Nice, nice. And then I'll probably ask Little Pizza a little bit about it since he works on the dev side and stuff. So feel free to chime in, Pizza. Say hi to everybody. You've been quiet over on there.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just don't want to interrupt, but yeah,
No, I
really,
appreciate
really
that, but
interesting to hear your story, Rudo.
I feel like you were just kind of in the corner over there. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that you were around and everything. But Pizza, you've done some kind of coding before, and are you learning Solidity now?
Yeah, a little bit. I've done like just kind of like a weekend course with buildspace.so, which is shout out to Buildspace, pretty sweet website for just kind of learning some of the basics with Solidity. So yeah, I've gotten my feet wet a little bit, but I literally just finished doing kind of some pre-recorded interviews to apply to this ETH Denver sponsored boot camp actually that's completely free. It's just a $25 deposit, and I think they might still be taking applications, but yeah, it seems like it could be a pretty cool opportunity. But yeah, I definitely want to get my feet wet a little bit more with Solidity and just kind of building decentralized apps.
I heard it's like learning Chinese. Like if you know Chinese and you want to learn French, there's no relation. Just because you can speak one language doesn't really mean that you can speak the other language. Like, and that seems kind of unintuitive to me. I feel like if you know how to code in one way, like you might have to do some legwork to learn a different language. But I feel like you have a leg up. Is that true, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think like once you get familiar with kind of one of the main programming languages, like I was previously the past year been learning a lot of Swift and with iOS development and a little bit of JavaScript before that too, but kind of my primary experience is working with Swift. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarities, and once you kind of get more familiar with one particular programming language, it definitely helps you be able to quickly pick up a new one a little bit more easily too.
Yeah. Very good. And Rudo, just so I guess, I guess as a segue, you mentioned that you did some work and you did it for free, and I feel like a lot of people feel that they need to. I mean, that's kind of what I did. I have a paid moderator gig, and I did some moderating gigs for either for free or for some NFT tokens, but that's not really the same thing as getting paid. And I kind of felt like it was like, well, let me prove myself a little bit at this point. Did your working for free, for lack of a better word, lead you to your job? Do you feel like that's necessary? Like, let's say that, you're somebody in this space right now listening to us, and you're like, yeah, that'd be great, man. I'd love to quit my job and or start a side hustle, working from home, and then eventually transition to Web3. Is that something that you would recommend, or would you just say, no, let me get paid for my time right off the bat?
Yeah, I would say just it's case by case, right? It depends on like what your background is. I would say like marketing, like as an example, is a lot harder and it's not really that quantifiable in Web3. It could be like there's just so many different like variables that go into it, but yeah, I recommend that like start out doing stuff for free, man. Like just to get your name out there, just get your feet wet, and then start building up your Web3 resume. It's incredibly important. Like you can't go and apply for a job and then they don't see that you've done like anything. You can't just be like, hey, I like tweet a couple things a day. They're gonna be like, okay, that's like nothing to me. And honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, like what I would recommend is like if you do have some Web 2 like professional experience that transitions pretty easily into Web 3, whether it be graphic design, tech backside stuff, or even like marketing stuff, then just apply, man. Just apply to stuff and kind of do what I did. And I know this is recorded, so like if any of my like founders or like coworkers are listening, I basically just told them, I was like, look, just give me a chance, get on a call with me, and I'm pretty confident that I know more about NFTs than like anybody that works at the company. And
I'm glad you just said that, because that's the main reason I invited you, because I heard you on one of your Twitter spaces and you're like, listen, guys, getting job in Web3 is not that hard. Just tell them the truth. Tell them that you know a shitload more about NFTs than you ever will, because you've been in this space for about a year. And I was like, you know what, dude, that's pretty gangster, dude. I like this dude. And I was
dude,
like, this would be perfect for it. So, and you
Just
kind
tell
of,
them
I
how
mean,
much money these lost, right? That's experience in Web3.
well, I think that's all of us at this point. We're all 90% down, even our resident ape boy crusher over here.
Don't, guys. Let's not speak about it. Let's move on quickly.
Yeah, April. We won't even bring up moonbirds, but
I was going to say, I know exactly where you're going with this.
oh, I knew where she was going, dude. Anyways, but back to Rudo. I think you're pretty aggressive, right, with it. Like, do you feel like these employers that are maybe getting their feet wet in Web3, and they're looking for people, they want somebody that's that confident, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's like, I guess it's just the kind of person you are, right? Like I don't want to. I think there's a difference between being like confident and like arrogant. And I kind of like to grind, or like that's a terrible word, but I like to kind of like walk that line of like I'm just very confident in my knowledge in this space. And I feel like if you've been hanging around, you've been very active, you've been watching the market for a good amount of time, then I would wager that you have far more knowledge and experience as far as like market sentiment and like how things can be successful and how things can fail. Like you've experienced all those things, the downs, the ups, and you have this experience that 99% of the world population doesn't have. And a lot of these brands that are looking to move into Web 3, looking to hire people, just be honest, man. I don't think it's being arrogant or anything. Just say, hey, I'm pretty confident I know more than you. And if you would like, let's just hop on a call and like let's see how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, because they're gonna test you and find out if you really do know more than them. And I'd put a big wager that most people in this space, like, you probably do know more than than the people that are potentially looking to hire, man.
It's a good point. I think, like, maybe I'm only speaking for myself, and I'm projecting a little bit, but I feel like we underestimate the value that we have, because I think like the majority of people that either listening live or listening recorded, you spend hours a day on Web3, right? And if you've been in the space 6 months, a year and a half, I mean, there's not that many. There's nobody really that's been here, necessarily longer. And if they have, it's by like a period of 6 months. So like, you pretty much know just as much about as anybody else that's pretty well versed in Web3. And like you said, millions upon millions and millions of people that may be wanting to get into Web3 and haven't put any time whatsoever. So what a competitive advantage that is, right?
Exactly, man. It's just a matter of like everyone gets that imposter syndrome where they feel like their resume doesn't stack up to like the competitors, and it's most of the time they haven't even tried, man. So I'm always like, look, man, shoot or shoot. You can't hit a home run if you're not swinging for the fences. You don't even go up to bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And maybe this will be a good segue for Little Pizza, and we'll get a little bit into him. But you actually put up a prop, right? Like, and for nouns, for the big nouns, is that right?
Yeah. We set up like I kind of structured a whole like value prop or like a whole proposition for nouns. And the some feedback I got through people like in Discord or whatever may be that, hey, like just refine it a bit more and then come back to us. We did get a prop that did win from On Chain Monkey. So like we know like it's a good prop. It's just my job to kind of refine it. So that's like part of my task for the company.
I mean, the reason I bring it up because it brings us back to the little nouns ecosystem, or the nouns ecosystem rather, and ways to kind of start your career in Web3. In this particular case, you're diversifying your income streams or whatever the case may be, whether it's just to add to your portfolio or add a different income stream. But I mean the nouns ecosystem is maybe not unique, but it's the most prolific of the DAOs, where you can, as a builder, whether that means you're a creative and you do art, whether you're a comms person, communications, whether it's the marketing side or whatever the case that may be, or whether you're on the tech side like Little Pizza. This is just as viable as getting a paycheck, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, it's just a matter of, and I tell people this all the time, just continue to build out your resume, man, in any shape, way, or form that you can. If you are like kind of young, like I'm 30, so I do have a bit of that Web 2 background. That definitely, I would say, if it wasn't for that, it would have been a lot harder for me to get a job full time in Web 3. But if you're young, like you're in a position where you definitely probably don't have as much responsibility as far as like you probably don't have kids or you're probably not married or whatever it may be, so you're a lot more able to be kind of risk on with kind of like the direction that you take your career right now. So just like just build up your resume, whatever that looks like, whether it be starting as a moderator or doing Twitter spaces to get your personal brand growing. But just get your name out there, man. I mean, we've seen it in this space. Age literally does not matter. We see multimillionaire, project founders that are 19, that are 20, that are 21. Like we see people who are partnering with huge, huge brands at under the age of 25. Like age really doesn't matter. It's just about the amount of time in the market that you put in. Honestly, man, that's what it's really about.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like like, and again, going back to the nouns, it's just it's almost like the gig economy, whether you're, if as long as you're creative, you can think about it, you can add value. There's ways to generate income and give back to the community, and with the idea of proliferating the nouns meme, and at the same time testing out your own creativity. It's like the community will judge if you have something of value to add, and I think that builds confidence too, right? And you have almost like mentorship, because a lot of times you submit these props, whether it's through Prop House or eventually going on chain or going on little funding. And like you said, people will give you that feedback. So you almost have like a mentorship of ways to improve your value proposition. So I think that's pretty dope. And I think that's probably a good segue for Little Pizza, man. I know that, we've been friends a long time, and that might only be close to a year now, but in this Web3 world, we all know that that's an eternity. So I consider you one of my closest friends, and I see you laughing there. But yeah, no, dude, and I know that you've been looking for work, and ideally some Web3 work. You found Little Nouns, and you onboarded the four hosts here. So a big thank you to that. And you found some success that way, and you have some ideas. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your journey, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, so I met all these guys January 2022 whenever I started rubbing my hands together, like deciding I was going to go ahead and mint the next Bored Ape style project, right? And just get that NFT that was going to moon, right? It didn't really turn out that way. Turns out I'm a terrible trader, but Yeah, I found my way over to Lil Nouns from another community. Shout out to OX Tobe. He's one of the developers actually for Proplot, a really awesome tool that just got funded and has been built recently for Lil Nouns. And he was just describing that he spent some time over a weekend building a feature and was able to get funded for it. I'm actually not sure like what funding route he used for that because it was kind of before I was familiar with the ecosystem. But I don't know, I was just kind of fascinated by this idea that like there's this place where people can just build things permissionlessly, and if the community finds them to be valuable, then they can get funding for those things. Um, and it felt like a lot more of a kind of like a natural, like legit way to earn a little bit of ETH in the space versus trying to like flip JPEGs. So yeah, I found my way over to Lil Nouns and just really enjoyed the conversations there, enjoyed the people. It just kind of had a lot different vibe to it than a lot of other NFT communities, discords that I'd been in, which were kind of a lot of like people spamming gifs and saying LFG and like, that's fun and stuff too. But I was just kind of like blown away by all the thought provoking conversations and just all of the stuff that had been built. I think I came in like late June and it was just like, wow, all this stuff has been built since May. Like, this is incredible. So I was just immediately really impressed with the project and a lot of the people in the Discord and decided to start applying some of my iOS skills to see if I could get something rolling. But yeah, that's kind of the
You were
intro to
working
my
on
journey with Lil Nouns.
weren't you working like on an app for Subducks and that was like your first idea? You're like, hey, I can bring this to the Little Nouns and community. What was the app?
Yeah, so I started like I was kind of just already wanting to build even before I found my way into Subducks. I was always wanting to build like a first iOS app. Just to give a little background, I'm basically brand new iOS developer. I've only been doing this for about a year, and I left my previous job to study iOS development full time and kind of just be self-taught. And I'd always thought it'd be kind of cool to make like my first app just kind of be this like kind of Tamagotchi style virtual pet. And so, yeah, whenever I had a few Subducks NFTs, and I was kind of initially wanting to do like, you know, uh, a pet app using like the King Frogs, but was kind of thinking, okay, like the IP situation's a little murky. Obviously, you have, quote unquote rights, which I mean that's a whole other subject in itself if those are actually rights, but IP rights over each NFT. But I wanted to be able to use all the different traits, and I just wanted a lot more flexibility with the artwork. So CCO artwork just felt like a lot more of a natural extension to that. So after starting work on that app and kind of just getting some of the basic logic down, that's kind of around the time that I found Little Nouns and decided to start focusing on making the app Little Noun centric rather than using another NFT project for the art. But yeah, I think
And
it works a lot better, and I think it makes for a lot cooler experience.
and you went through Prop House, right? That was your vessel of getting. You went through
I
Prop
did,
House. You were
yeah.
successful. Did like I don't know. So for me, like that I bother you with all these questions and you're great answering all of them and but was it intuitive? Did somebody help you out? Do you feel like it was like an intimidating first? Because I feel like sometimes people go into Little Nouns and there's so much information in the Discord because there needs to be and it's well organized to a certain extent, but it could be overwhelming for someone that's not used to that. Did you have somebody help you out? Did you have any tips for someone that says, hey, listen, dude, I have a great idea. I think it'll add value to the noun community. It'll proliferate the meme and add to the nounish culture. How do I get on here? Any kind of tips? Any type of? Do you think it's better to reach out to somebody? Did you read it on yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely a talker, as you know. So I feel like I just kind of entered the Discord and started asking questions. And yeah, I mean, it can be a little confusing for a newcomer just because the naming conventions don't necessarily make it obvious up front, kind of what each thing is for. But yeah, to me, I think Prop House is a great tool for just kind of onboarding new people to the community that have I don't want to say smaller ideas because there's definitely a lot of big thinking in Prop House and a lot of cool stuff that's been funded, but the funding rounds are smaller compared to a lot of the people that put stuff on chain for larger proposals. But yeah, I just just asking questions. I feel like the community was maybe a little bit quieter and like kind of less people in there than it is today. So there was maybe a little bit more room to kind of dig in and ask more questions. But yeah, I think that everybody's really helpful, and I definitely got some good advice and some good feedback just after kind of showing off some of the screens of the app that I had made. And shout out to Lil Owl, because I know he really likes my app, and definitely gave me some initial votes in Prop House to get me funded. But I think that just from that first experience, it's not like my app is going to be this kind of revolutionary tool to bring in all this money for the DAO. But I think that um, funding some of these smaller projects and bringing in some of these builders this way, it's just a good way to kind of build that flywheel and just kind of get people hooked on the ecosystem. And sort of like what April was saying from quoting 4156 earlier. My whole MO has just been to kind of build because I enjoy it and because I think it's fun, and not really to try to find like a huge return. And so I was actually shocked whenever I logged in and I saw that my app had been funded. I was really not expecting it. And yeah, it really just kind of cemented that it's a community I wanted to stick around in for a long time.
Yeah, pretty sweet, dude. And so you mentioned ETH Denver, that you're gonna, I guess, brush up on your skills, learn some Solidity. I guess any types of future ambitions, whether in nouns or outside of nouns, any type of tips for people that are looking for work, that want to kind of get into Web3, whether as a side hustle or eventually get into full time. Is that your goal?
Yeah, for sure. So this is kind of another little tangent, but I mean, yeah, especially just what Rudo was saying, like just dive in and teach yourself, read the docs. You get your hands dirty. There's a lot of good resources. Like I was saying, buildspace.so. I know a lot of people recommended the Crypto Zombies course, but I haven't checked that one out yet. But yeah, part of the reason why I wanted to get more into building for Ethereum, building decentralized apps rather than mainly focusing on iOS is just simply because like I just think the people are a lot more fun. So like I have another Twitter account that's kind of my doxed IRL account that I've been using to try to get a job as an iOS developer. And I've just been totally striking out because I have so much more of a network in Web3. I've just met so many people over the past few months in these communities, and I have probably like 2 to 3 times the followers on my Web3 little pizza account versus just like my standard IRL account. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like being in between two worlds. Like, the iOS community is kind of notoriously like, pretty down on blockchain and Web3 in general. And so it's kind of just, it feels like a dirty word to even bring up crypto or like Web3, like, with that other account. And so it's just kind of like this weird, like, okay, well, I don't really want to talk about living blockchain stuff because that's going to get my application thrown in the bin over there. And so just kind of keeping the streams separated has just been super weird. And I just haven't really met a lot of other iOS developers in Web3. So it just feels like kind of a no-brainer for me to get more familiar with building for Ethereum, and maybe starting to primarily focus on that. And I can just kind of continue to tinker with iOS in the background, because I still do love Swift, and obviously being like an Apple nerd and everything, like having worked there years ago for so many years, just I'll never not love Apple stuff, but at the same time, it just feels like it's a lot more like kind of gate kept, and I just don't have the connections there. So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
going to try to pivot and like leverage my network a little bit better. I think would be a better strategy. That would be my advice essentially.
I see April has her hand up, but I just wanted to point out quickly. Yeah, I think that you brought up the keyword networking, and I think Ruta's alluded to this with don't underestimate how much you've already vested into this ecosystem. It's like you're competing against a lot less people, and you probably have a ton more knowledge in this stuff. So there's definitely an advantage, and I think like anything in the real world, really comes down to can you do the job? But even if you can do the job, it's probably who you know rather than what you know. And I know that that's certainly been the case for me. And I've been fortunate enough to get a job working in Web3. And it was definitely through connections as opposed to just posting a resume. So I kind of want to just to reiterate that that's probably some pretty basic 101 life advice, but definitely certain true in Web3, and probably easier to leverage since you kind of chat with these people and meet new people on a day-to-day basis, whether it's Twitter Spaces. And I don't want to hog too more time. April, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to like double down on what you all have really been saying about like community and networking. Like I think one of the amazing things about nouns is that so many people have like ideas all the time, and they go and they have no one to really like get feedback from or say, oh, do you think this is gonna work? Like, what do you think I could improve? Like, Little Nouns really feels like a bit of an incubator. Like, you can go and put your ideas out there, even if it's just in the chat, and you can instantly get feedback. But then if you go and take that next step and go on to Prop House and get funding, you actually have an engaged audience already to go and potentially test your product, go and buy it, go and use it, whatever it may be. You already have like a couple of thousand people that you can tap into straight away. Like, getting access to a couple of thousand people if you're just starting a project on your own is like so difficult. So to have that engaged like community there who you can tap into, even just on a qualitative front, just like for anecdotal feedback, or for really them testing out what you're building, I think it's so valuable. And then just quickly, like, in the same vein, back to the point about working for free, I think like if you find like a community that you really love engaging with and you're really sort of passionate about what they're building, like, you can go out there and start contributing, and it doesn't even feel like you're working for free. You're just out there like making the most and enjoying yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to double down on what the guys are saying, because I think yeah, the
Yeah.
community aspect is really like the point of difference against like the web 2 side, which I think is what Little Pizza was getting on about as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think whether you're getting paid or not, and maybe you're not getting paid initially, but as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, you probably have a competitive advantage versus anybody, because you can keep doing it for hours and hours and probably not get tired, as opposed to somebody that gets exhausted from the work, because you can actually enjoy it. So you probably gain energy from it rather than expend energy. So a great point, and I know that we're almost coming up in an hour and a half, and everybody's been patient. We did a little bit of cleanup work in the beginning, that just kind of introducing ourselves. So hopefully we won't be as long-winded initially before we get to our guests and engage in this conversation. But we've brought up Prop House several times as ways to get funding, and we have the main man, SQ, here. So SQ, tell us a little bit about Prop House, how you got involved in it, and how what is it, how does it work, and anything you want to add to the conversation, my man.
It's amazing how wonderful Prop House just is. I mean, it's like that. I could have every single thing you guys said. I could have somehow tangentially or segued into a Prop House benefit. It's and it's also just the Web3 way. I think in totality. Um, Prop House is well, real quick. I want to touch on just what you guys were saying. The working for free. Think of it more as like an internship, and not even work. Figuring out what it is you want to do in Web3, because it is so vast and ever changing. But yeah, and it's fun. A long time ago, or I guess now, many moons ago, as you guys were saying, about a year, there was a guy, Nevin, and LOLs in life gains, and I didn't really get it when he was saying it when I first like came down, and that's kind of how I live my life on the chain, and actually in real life now too, more so than I was before. It's just if I'm not having a good time, then why am I even doing it in the first place? So that's why I love running the Prop House account here. And yeah, and so it's funny that Little Pizza, because he's had a couple Prop House wins. So everybody comes up through Prop House. You guys had a couple Prop House failures, so it's funny. Prop House is wrapped in everything. But yeah, the current Prop House that just ended, back to how everything wraps together and finding out what you want to do. I mean, I was just looking over, I kind of bucketed them together, and there's 9 that are focused on media, 5 that are kind of admin, retro funding, 4 on dev, kind of software that is outward facing, 2 that are based on music, 5 for donations. I mean, there's always a good cohort of kind of public goods that goes in there, and 3 for merch. Merch is I was actually surprised to see 3, because merch doesn't usually merch does, for better or worse, never gets funded through the Little Nouns. I don't know why. But yeah, so it looks like a total of 29 to 31. There's a couple that I think are doubles in there. 5 winners, 2 ETH. The voting ends on Friday. Let me see here. Oh, it looks like we're getting it at 5 p.m. Central. One of these days I'll get it to end at 1 o'clock, so that because I can't do these 5 o'clock wraparounds. I really like doing those. But yeah, Prop House is great. It's a great place to start. You don't need a little. You don't even need to know the littles. It works out better. You usually get more votes, as Pizza was saying, if you come in and get to know people. Pitch your idea in the Discord. We're friendly. And yeah, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, and I thought you brought up a good point, and maybe you can recap that a little bit. You said there was a lot of different, I guess, like sectors, right? Like it wasn't just, one kind of thing. So can you recap the different types? You said there was two of this, three of that, five of that.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like media is a big one, and I would have to go over them to really make sure that I
Well,
put
not an
put them in
exact,
the
but
right bucket.
I want
But
I want the audience to kind of get a scope that, because not everybody's an artist, right? And not everybody's into marketing and comms, and not everybody, but there's a little bit of something for everybody, right?
yeah, absolutely. If you're a dev, there's four are for kind of software development, two are for music, but kind of everything is broad. So I'll just give it to what I wrote it down as. Media, there's 9, so a lot for the media are outward facing. Some of those are such things as a like an exhibit out with like actual artwork in a place. I think one of those might have been the Noun Singapore um, skate park renovation. So it can go in lots of different directions. 5 of them are for admin. So kind of as we're always talking about how Discord's a mess, collection of information is a mess. Some people, they pitch ideas or they may have put ideas out there and now are requesting payment. So back to like, if you just do stuff, feel free to throw your ideas out there, try and get paid here or a little funding. 4 for software development. And those are like in that bucket, it's actual software that is going to be interesting. I'd have to look at it again real quick. 3 for merchandise, looking to build rolling trays. The other one is little figurines, I think. Can't think of off the top of my head what the third one is. 2 are music related. One of them is pastels. I believe he's trying to make a virtual band. The other one was, I can't remember off the top of my music video for Little Nouns. That is Aresh, who's always dropping his little videos that he's making and is wants to do the video game. He has real great work. And then 5 are for donations. One of them I think is for little pads for females in Uganda. Another one is I think I have it in the donations, but it was it was actually like a triple one where it has to do with 100 helmets for motorbikers. But it's also like a treasure hunt, and if you win the treasure hunt, you also win ETH. So I mean, go check it out. There's always great stuff. It's great to see what everybody's thinking. You get an idea of who wants to fund what. And please come out on Thursday to the next Noun Soapbox that we have. I believe it's at 1 o'clock Central.
Do you have
And
a link for that, or maybe
I
we can
don't.
post it?
I'm
Oh,
on.
okay.
I'm unprepared.
Okay. Great ambassador. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah,
it's all
but
good, man.
they will be all Prop House, and I will relinquish it back to you. Thanks. It's been great. As I said, I'm looking to get an oddity because of you guys. I got some 3-landers because of you guys. Little Pizza's been great. Got I'm like I like Timpers more now because of you guys, and got myself Chimpers. And it's community. All comes down to community, and we like to build from the bottom. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. No, you brought some excellent points. This cross-pollination, which is kind of what we're all about, and we look forward to in the future bringing guests and thought leaders from other communities and get them down with the nouns, and maybe we get exposed to their community a little bit, and it's all in the good Web3 spirit. You brought up some good points. I think you either mentioned directly or indirectly, retro funding. So that is potential stuff. So if you don't get funded, but you think you have some great value, you want to do some fun stuff, and not to shill April, but I remember she had some like idea that she was going to do. I don't know. I think it was a skate deck, or you can tell us it was a ski board or something, and it was going to be traveled along, and people would take pictures of it. And I don't know. It's really, you're just limited by your creativity. and what you can do. So even if you don't have a strong skill set that you think per se, like, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not a dev, what can I do? If you're creative and you come up with something cool, there's definitely ways to contribute, potentially get paid either directly initially, retro funding. There's just so much stuff and that goes on with this. And go ahead, April. I see you have your hands up, and maybe you can tell us about that prop that you had at one point.
No, I was just gonna maybe ask SQ, and thanks for mentioning the prop. Yeah, I put a prop in a couple of rounds ago now, and it was interesting, like just a little bit of an experiment on my side to see how the whole thing works, like what people like. And I guess that was kind of going to be my question to you, SQ, if you don't mind. Like, is there anything that you wish, like, oh, I wish someone would propose this, or like, or is there certain things that you love seeing come up, like things that you get excited about? I'm just curious. Like, it's really interesting to watch, like what props do well and what don't do so well. And it's quite an interesting balance, because sometimes you look at something and you think, oh, that's really good, we really need that. But if you have one vote, one lil, and then you see something else which is just like this really exciting big idea, then you're like, yeah, I want to go for that. So I just wonder, what are the kind of things that get you excited when you see them come through on Prop House?
That's a tough question. And I get what you're saying. It's and there's so much good proposals that come through. Every time at the end of this, there's always a couple that don't make it that could get funded, and some of them come back, some of them don't. As you were saying, as you were saying, obviously your skateboard one isn't in here. I love that idea, especially when I get to
It'll
talk
be back.
when I get to talk to people and learn more about the proposals, and you learn more about the people. So I have this weird like family feel to Prop House, which is why I love it so much. Because I try to learn more about these people and what they're doing and why they're passionate. Why are they so passionate? Why should I be passionate about your passion? I think it's such a hard one to see, because it's weird. I like the ones that I didn't think I was gonna like. I like the ones that hit me upside the head, that I think are so stupid, and then I talk to somebody and it's completely different than what I thought it was going to be, and it's just so creative and endearing and welcoming. So this is why it's such a hard question. But again, I'm the wrong person to ask, because I invest in almost every proposal that gets put across the plate, or I try to at least. So,
well, SQ, you bring up actually something that I found a lot of value in your spaces with the little prop house spaces, that sometimes the idea might be interesting when you read it on paper, but I think sometimes you're investing in the person just as much as the idea. And when you listen to the person in the spaces and they explain maybe a little bit about their background, what their ambitions for this is, maybe they even articulate it in a different way, sometimes it's a little bit more engaging. So sometimes when it's just black and white, right, like maybe even just to keep with the theme of this this show, you can read somebody's resume, but that's not the same thing as interviewing the person and maybe why they want to do it. So I think there's tons of value in your space. And I know that's been true when I've heard people pitch their stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense now, or I see where they're going with this, or maybe just some facet that they omitted or didn't think was as important, but that's actually the key point and why it's actually interesting. So tons of value with there, and it's just maybe more reason to kind of engage in the community and learn from other people.
no, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's funny, as Little Pizza said too, with his first app, which, I'm kind of, it was a different time back then. Same place, different time. Prop House is also kind of a calling card. It's more of because I like to say, you can waste an ETH, or 2 ETH. It's not gonna, like, little nouns aren't gonna go away if somebody runs off with 2 ETH, right? Maybe we get something, maybe we don't. I'm sure there's a couple props out there that I'm not entirely sure that anything ever is going to come from. I think Nouns now has actual proposals that have gone that route. But it's a calling card, and it's Little Pizza put out, like, I saw someone was tweeting about and killing your little guys all weekend long. I swear to God, every morning I saw him dead. So, like, the game is still getting played. He put it out there. He's engaged. It's a calling card of your activity, your execution. Again, kind of wrapping it all together, just getting out there, doing. It's kind of like, here's your 40 acres and your mule. Get out there and hustle. Whoever can out hustle the rest of everyone else. And it's not that, again, to wrap it all together, there's the pool of hustlers is small, so it's like you can all hustle and all win. There really aren't that many losers, except the people who aren't hustling. So I don't even remember what I started that with, but I feel like
I think you got the point across though. But it's actually a good point. 2 ETH is not gonna, or sometimes it's 1 ETH, sometimes it's 2 ETH, but either way, it's not gonna bankrupt little nouns, and at the same time, 1 or 2 ETH is not anything to sneeze at. So if you have an idea and you wanna shoot your shot, I think feel free to DM anybody here or tag us in the Little Nouns Discord, and we'll help you out and get you going. And I think it's definitely a cool way to get into this space. Little Pizza keeps calling it the flywheel, and I think that was the idea behind Prop House, to get people engaged and get them a little bit more confident. So it's a super cool initiative from Nouns community, and yeah.
We had just quickly on that, like we had a conversation in a Moonbird space the other day about, like, because obviously they're changing a model to be sort of emulate a little bit of what Nouns are doing, and we were talking about this idea of, like, you could have 1,000 ideas, but you really only need like one really sticky idea to essentially like make funding 1,000 worth it. So you never really know which one is gonna fly. So I think it's great that I just think Prop House is a great mechanism to sort of get people going and fund those little ideas and see which ones can really run forward.
Yep, very good. And then, so I don't know, I know we have a giveaway that we're going to run and a couple of other things before we end the show, and we'll probably bring some people up as well. So with that said, I don't know, Cardno, Crusher, did you have anything to add or questions before we bring up people or do the giveaway?
No, just to jump on the back of the Prop House one, I think it's important to note as well that, just because you don't get funding through Prop House, or you fail on one of your submissions, or you fail twice like we did, it doesn't mean it's not a good idea. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of ideas go into the pot, a lot of it's politics as well. You might have people who have garnered support in the Discord over a period of months, or have shown proof of work for weeks leading up to it, and that's why they get the votes. But if you've got a good idea, or you think you've got something that you think is going to provide value going forward, you just got to stick with it. Just for context, like I say, we put forward 2 Prop House submissions for this show to get funding. On the 2 previous 1 ETH rounds, we didn't get funding. We missed out by a couple of votes both times. And, we're still here. We think it's a good idea. We still think we can provide value. And we've gone about it different ways. We didn't get funding for the giveaways, but we got retro funding through the Little Nouns Treasury. We didn't have the money for the art for our Twitter banner. But we got that through the Discord, through the content pod. So there's other ways you can skin a cat, and if you truly believe your idea is good, you just got to stick with it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, we didn't get get funded. We didn't do it, but there's always chances for retro funding, and if that's the case, cool. If not, we just keep adding value, and as cliche as that sounds, I think it'll eventually pay dividends, and kind of the idea of just enjoying what you're doing. And we've always enjoyed doing the spaces, and always really appreciative of everybody that comes in and joins, all the people that ask questions, add value. So much love all the way around, and good point about being creative, that we found ways to get it done regardless if it wasn't the main channel. So awesome point on there. Crusher, did you want to add anything before we bring up some guests that may want to ask some questions?
Yeah, I actually just kind of wanted to do a quick reset because, I'm an old guy, and I try to think simply and boil things down to the sort of the least common denominator. And there may be other people in the room like me who are listening to this and, don't quite get all the jargon and everything. And there's so many moving parts in Little Nouns and Prop House and the different types of funding. But, I think in a nutshell, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but, essentially, if you've got anything dealing with creativity, activity, awareness, adoption, or engagement in Web3, You can probably get funding through Nouns or Lil Nouns, and I think Lil Nouns is a great place to start, just because, like we've been talking about this whole time, it's not only, even if your prop fails, you're making connections, and you try again, and you word things a little differently, or you try a different idea, and it's a really, really exciting way to get engaged in Web3. I just think it's fantastic. And, I think we all, when I bought in, I'll be honest, I just, I thought the art was cool. I knew it was kind of tied to nouns. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll get in on it. And the more you hear about it and the more you engage, just the more you realize what a fantastic opportunity it is. And, what a great resource it is for people to get engaged in Web3. So that's really all I've got to say. And maybe I know we've had a couple people waiting for a while to come up. So are we ready for that?
I think so, unless Cardinal wants to do the giveaway first. Are we doing the giveaway, or we're bringing up people?
Yeah, I think Crusher was going to do the giveaway, but just on the PO app. So going forward, we'll do the usual secret phrase for the PO app. But if for those who are interested in getting hold of it, if you just DM the Little Noun Show account, which is up on stage now, which Crusher's behind, DM us there. We'll shoot you over a link for the PO app. We'll get that to you. Going forward, obviously, we'll do it so it's a secret phrase. That'll be like a first come, first serve.
Did we explain what the PO app was to everybody? Because I don't know if we did that.
Yeah, we did it at the start, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think everybody's fairly happy. Yeah, we're good. And then the giveaway, I think Crusher's going to run now. I don't know if you want to do that. Then we'll get some people up on stage, have a little vibe, and then I've got some more questions anyway, but I'll let other people speak.
I'm good either way. You want to do the giveaway now? I've got it all queued up and ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
So again, my aging brain doesn't. The Twitter picker I have, I'm not sure how to filter it for people in the space. So I'll just do the picking, and if they're in the space, come on up, and if they're not, we'll try it again.
Yeah, and what we'll do is if you screen grab the Twitter picker, Crusher, when you do it, and we'll put it in the Little Noun Show channel on the Discord as well.
All right.
Did we have anybody that was requesting to come up? Are we waiting for the?
Yeah. We got Luke. I'll bring him up now anyway while we're waiting.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. So like, as much as we touch base on Rudo's background and Little Pizzas and SQ and his experience, these guys are tons of knowledge and resources. So if you have any questions, whether specific or in general, you want to ask them, I think it'd be a good opportunity. Maybe you want to get into Web3, get paid, whether it's through Nouns itself or just find some Web3 work and you want to pick their brains. Feel free to raise their hand, come up. And Rudo, you have your hand up. You have a question for yourself, buddy?
No, I actually before people came up, I know they're gonna ask. What I've already been getting some DMs about it, so I figured I would just post it at the top here for those interested. Here we go. Okay, so this is where I got actually my position from. It's a website that I use called Crypto Jobs List. It's in Twitter. They have a Twitter account. So like the one I just pimped up is for a metaverse marketing manager, starting salary is $70K. So, this is just like a great example of stuff. But yeah. All right. Anyone else who has questions? I just wanted to pin that at the top beforehand.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That's actually something that I was meaning to ask you, but didn't. So that was very cool of you. Yeah. You've mentioned this before, and that's a great resource.
English. Did we chat about Ruto's Lil Duck and how that happened?
Not. So that's
quite good.
So, yeah, that's a good point there. So
Little Pizza can jump in here as well, actually.
Yeah, you guys, Ruto, we need to hear the story of how Lil Pizza got you the Lil Duck.
Yeah, so quickly, I mean, they threw me in a chat. English, kind of kidnapped me, put me in a chat. Was like, hey,
you like it.
Yeah, he's like, hey, so this Lil Pizza, he's onboarded a few people into Lil Nouns, and at first I was like, oh, it's like, I've heard about Lil Nouns already. I heard about Nounlets and stuff, so I was like, sure, like let me dive in more. I was immediately bullish as soon as I heard it was like an exact fork of Nouns DAO, and then also when I saw the treasury, I was like, holy shit. And then Lil Pizza, he was like, hey, which one is kind of your vibe? I was like, man, I really like these ducks. And then he just sniped one for me. And then I, transferred him the ETH for the duck. And yeah, this one is just, it just resonates with me. This is the homie, the little ducky for me.
Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. So yeah, so he sniped that using Little Block Party, and I think Little Pizza, although he wasn't on the main dev team, he's kind of an apprenticeship. So that's kind of in concert with what we're talking about. He was on the team as from a learning experience, but he had some ideas that he added. Can you tell us a little bit about that app and how it works and how it contributes to the nouns?
He's just coming back on now. He was rugging English, but I think he's just popped back up.
Yeah, so he's able to snipe basically with the bids that you normally do. You kind of, when you clear the transaction to find the next one, it's a little bit randomized. Oh, he's back. I'll let him speak about it.
Hey, it wouldn't be a Twitter space without somebody getting rugged, right? Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but so we're talking about Little Block Party?
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. So yeah, Little Block Party, it's kind of an interesting story. It kind of, I feel like a lot of people kind of started having a similar idea at the same time, and we all kind of converged in a Discord channel in Lil Nouns and kind of started ideating. It all started with Lil Panda, actually. I don't think he's in this space, but he posted up a proposal idea kind of just with the thought that it would be cool to have like kind of like a trait sniping bot for Lil Nouns. And that kind of evolved into, well, what if this was kind of like a FOMO nouns type of fork, where if you're not familiar with FOMO nouns, essentially the way that the little nouns are generated on chain is that for every Ethereum block, there's a new one generated. So every about 12 seconds, the seeder contract is generating a new random little noun. And that's all kind of opaque to the user, such that whenever you go to settle an auction, in that very moment, the Ethereum block that you settle on is the particular little noun that you get coming up for auction. So basically with this allows you to watch every single Ethereum block that goes by every 12 seconds, and you can smash the settle button to try and like quickly get your transaction through to settle on that particular little. So it kind of like gamifies this experience where, if you fail the way that the contract is set up, it will revert and you only have to pay like a matter of cents rather than settling on the one that you don't want. So it kind of becomes this game of like trying to get your transaction through on time. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I actually just won a prop through Prop House last round to use an ETH to just try to settle on as many kind of aesthetically pleasing little nouns as possible. It didn't really go quite as planned. I was kind of hoping to maybe generate some more bidding wars and bring in some extra revenue for the DAO, but I was able to find homes for a lot of the lils that I settled on. So it kind of just ended up as me like finding some cool ones and then like finding some people who are into them and just selling them those lils at cost and then using the funds to settle on some other cool ones. And so it ended up with me like settling like 14 auctions, and then only one of those actually someone outbid me. But of those 14, it pulled in like close to 2 ETH for Lil Nouns DAO. So I think that it's going to be a great tool, especially once we get back into more of a bullish market and we get more active people bidding, because I think that just allowing people to kind of gamify that experience of like picking out the one they like is like super cool. And for Rudo, like I had just settled on a duck because we had a conversation before, just kind of in the planning of the show, and he said that he really liked the duck head Lil Nouns. And so whenever I found that duck, I was like, okay, boom, here we go, let's see. And we kind of synced up later and kind of did an OTC exchange. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. I don't know if you guys have checked it out. It's lilblockparty.wtf. And I definitely recommend using, if you have like MetaMask mobile, using the mobile version in the browser just kind of seems the best method right now to quickly settle. But just double check gas, because obviously if gas is super high, you don't want to be settling because it can get a little bit expensive. And I mean, I guess in that end, your transaction would probably just fail anyway because it would take a little bit longer to get through. But yeah, it's a pretty sweet little app, and been having a lot of fun with it.
So yeah, no, thank you for that. And I guess how that translates to our audience, if you have your eyes on a particular style head that you want, or kind of a look. I know Little Pizza, he has a prop to reinitiate his previous one where he did he picked out some clean ones. I know some went back to the treasury, some went back to people. So I think it'd be fair to say that if that prop passes, you'd be willing to take some requests. Would you, Pizza? Maybe there's some people here that have an eye for something.
Yeah, so I'm actually all out of funds right now. I just sent a bunch of them over to a little funding wallet earlier, which
No, I meant you have a new prop. If it
oh yeah,
passes,
the
you would
new
be
one.
refunded with the idea. Yeah, so
So
maybe
this one
someone's
is
listening right now and they're saying like, I want, they don't win the wizard and they want a wizard of their own. Can they hit you up if you pass?
yeah, this one's a little bit different. So I'm just gonna my idea for this one, if it passes, I just want to settle a ton of like pumpkin head little nouns on Halloween because I think it'd be really fun. And yeah, so I wouldn't be trying to do any kind of like, order book style requests like I kind of ended up doing for the last one, just almost kind of accidentally. But I would just say if you want to purchase a little noun and you're not seeing anything come up on auction that you like, just try to check out Little Block Party and try to snipe a couple times. Like worst case scenario, you'll miss and you'll spend like 30 to 50 cents, but it's still pretty fun. And yeah, I'm always hanging out in the Discord, kind of answering questions about the app and like best practices. I've kind of become the self-appointed like support guy for the app. Like I think I was
Right.
rugging earlier when English was talking about it, but yeah, I've just been excited to watch it get built. Like I kind of buried the lead, but like I was saying, Little Panda and a few of us had this idea, but lo and behold, we found out that someone else had been just kind of silently working on a smart contract for this exact tool and a kind of basic front end. A guy named N. Von Pence, awesome Solidity developer. And then we ended up syncing up with another guy named Mulford, and he worked on the front end. And then we had a designer step in, me, she's super awesome, and somebody who happened to come in and just kind of be into like or have like a marketing background, and he kind of wrote some of the copy, and so it just kind of became this dream team. And I've just been kind of been a fly on the wall and just kind of idea guy. And I did come up with a name, so I'll take credit for that. But that was kind of been a huge brainstorming process. But it all came together in a matter of a couple weeks, and I think that's just a great one of that project in particular is a great example of what Lil Nouns is all about. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling and gushing about that. But yeah, so
No, it's all
if I
good.
get
You're
funded,
passionate, and
stay
I think
tuned on
that's
Halloween. It's gonna be a freaking pumpkin fest. And yeah, just if you want to snipe anything and you have questions, just go into Little Nouns Discord. There's like a channel just called Little Block Party, and you can ask your questions in there about it. And happy to help.
yep, awesome, man. And I'm sure they can go into the Little Nouns Discord, and if they see you around, you'd probably be happy to talk a little bit linked at it. No.
Oh, definitely, definitely, always. I'm always happy to talk at length about just about anything, obviously. So I'll
All
talk your
right,
ear off. We have that in
all
common,
right.
So,
English, I think.
I
so,
appreciate you, Mr. Pizza Head. What's up?
so I think what our little pizza is saying is if you want a pumpkin head for October, go and vote for his prop house.
Yeah, very
Let's
good.
go.
And I
Or
see,
just snipe it
we have.
yourself. Just you can snipe it yourself too. But
I know. Before we move on, English, I know Crusher has alluded to the fact that he is a bit older than everyone else, but he must have done that giveaway by now, surely.
I have. I've run the giveaway. Thank you for that.
This is why we need a soundboard or a drum
Oh
roll.
God,
But,
I need to.
retro funding, right?
I heard on the Notre Dame game the other night. I heard the coach referencing their uniforms, their special uniforms as drip. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I understood the reference.
Oh, here we go.
So I'm all about drip. You know that.
Right, who's won?
But anyway, you're not going to believe this. Our winner
cool.
is one of our old Threelanders friends, Jeremy Shavermy.
Oh, okay. And he's in the spaces?
He is.
Yeah, I can see him right there.
I just invited him up, I think.
Yeah, obviously you don't have to come up if you don't want to, Jeremy. We don't know if you're at work or whatever, but yeah, okay. You're in the Little Nouns ecosystem. It'd be good if you're not a member. But yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, if you don't want to come up, Jeremy, just DM us and we'll make sure you get that. But congratulations, man!
Super excited to have Jeremy win that. And I think with that said, I know we have Luke up here as a speaker, and maybe he has a question. Did we want to transition to card? April, are we good to go?
Yeah, I think I was going to bring Luke up. I realized I don't have the god powers, so somebody else is going to.
He's up here.
Let's rug in on my UI.
We've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes left.
Well, if we go a little over, it's fine. I don't think we want to rush this necessarily, but we'll play it by ear. Luke, what's going on?
Hey yo, I've just enjoyed all the education here about Lil Noun. Sounds like y'all run a pretty tight ship, and it's it's a legit thing going on. So I'm pretty impressed. I gotta say, for something such as Lil Nouns, it sounds kind of like something childish, but it's far from it. And I gotta say, Rudo is kind of a goat. I need to really take all the advice that he's given that I've gotten to hear across many spaces and apply it so I can get some jobs in Web3 and do a little more than hang out on Twitter all day. But great
Dude,
space, I'd say.
you'll still end up on Twitter all day, man. Just don't tell my employers.
Well, yeah, I want to be on Twitter all day while I get paid.
Yeah, it's part of the job, man. It's fun. You still get to be on. That's part of my job is just being on Twitter all day. So it's dope.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Rudo's even alluded to it. There's nothing wrong with building up your personal brand and your personal network. Jumping on these Twitter Spaces, whether you're running Twitter Spaces. I know Rudo used to do it quite a bit. What was it, 5 or 6 times a week, and now you've shortened it to once a week.
Oh man, yeah, it was Monday through Friday. I've shortened it to like once a month, but I'm looking to scale it back, man, back up to at least once a week, man. It's as you guys know, it's tough to keep up with.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But it's if you're on the spaces now, you're listening, you come up, you contribute, whether it's our spaces, other spaces. You either learn in the process, you make friends, you make. I've always, I've done sales for many years, and the idea was always, to build the connections before you need them, right? They become a little bit stronger. If you're just trying to befriend somebody because you want something, that's a little bit noted. But if you make all these friends and you put them in the bank, oh, this person does dev work, oh, this person, and then maybe who knows, 2 or 3 months later, you say, hey, I got this really cool thing. Why don't you come aboard, right? And that's how these things work out. So Twitter Spaces, I know you're very bullish on Twitter in general and a little bearish on Discord. So maybe another pro tip for everybody that the more you join these spaces, the more friends you make. Maybe the more value that you'll be able to harvest later on in the future. Mr. Cardinal, Mr. Crusher, do we have anybody else? Maybe they want to have some questions on either Rudo's or Pizza's journey into working in Web3 and making money, anything of that nature?
So I was rugging earlier, that's why I had to leave and come back. But because I'm not a host, I can't see if anybody's requesting. But I do have a question for Rudo myself, as somebody who's not looking to transition through my own choice, but somebody who might be leaving full-time employment soon and looking into Web3. I mean, what was that eureka moment for you when you thought, right, I'm just going to have to dive into Web3 full-time here? And, how did that come? And,
This is XArgs. This space is going to automatically end because we have another soapbox coming in. So I abrupt ending, but we need to start them up. I'm glad you guys are.
Let's blame English for this one.
No problem.
We had a warning over the tannoy there. No, thank you very much. Yeah, that's cool.
I felt like we were in trouble.